Hey everyone, today we have some huge New World news, and this is regarding crafting changes, new expeditions, huge changes for companies and wars, and lots more. So with that being said, let's jump right into the good stuff. I'm going to scroll down just to jump right into the major updates. Right off the bat, we can see that there is a new Mutated Expedition, and that is regarding a mashup of Starstone Barrows and Amrit. Seems pretty interesting. It'll be kind of cool to kind of revisit these areas, and I'm interested to see a little bit more about what kind of drops we're going to be finding in these new expeditions. But hey, I guess we'll find out soon, right? Next up, we have some crafting and refining station tier changes, and this is regarding a lot of the Azoth costs for crafting. I know it's really annoying, especially with those rune stopwatches where it costs like 300 Azoth each just to craft, but now there is going to be a discount, so we won't have to open and close our inventory back and forth and open Azoth non-stop. So it looks like a tier 3 equals a 20% discount, tier 4 is a 30% discount, and tier 5 is 45%. It calls out that certain recipes will no longer be gated behind tiers, which is good news. Also, most procedural weapon and armor recipes, arcane repository with stat potions, and kitchen with health and mana foods. So that's good. You don't have to worry about being able to craft or not craft certain items in certain areas. This is a good change. Probably should have happened a long time ago. On to the next thing, joining companies and unfactioned. I'm not sure why this is even really a change. There's no real big perks for not being in a faction, so I don't understand why a lot of people would do that. But essentially it's saying that players no longer need to be in a faction to join a company. However, those players must still declare a faction. Non-faction affiliated members may not become the governor or participate in wars. So companies need to be in a faction, players do not, and they can still join companies. Weird change, not really sure why this is a big issue, but hey, they added it. Maybe some people complained about it. Next up, rolling PTR updates. Group Finder is now activating lobby counts, so players can now see the number of active lobbies for each expedition, both on the map tooltip and the expedition entrance screen. Good change, nice little, quality of life change here. Next up, and this is some big news regarding shell companies. We will implement the following changes to make shell companies less effective at owning multiple territories. Right off the bat, we have a daily war limit. Players will have a limit of 1 defensive war and 1 attacking war per world. This resets daily at 5 AM server time. These limits will apply to both even if you have 2 different characters in the same world. So it sounds like the only way to get around this is to have multiple copies of the game, which honestly I think a handful of people do out there, some of those big sweaty players. But regardless, I think this is a good change. More wars for more people. Overall, it's a big plus in my books. Next up, war roster restrictions. Not sure how I feel about this because it's regarding mercenaries for wars. There is now a requirement. So attacking companies can have up to 40 mercenaries and defending companies can have up to 15 mercenaries. What does that mean? Well, that means every time your company attacks a company or try to own a territory, they must have at least 10 company members in that war. And when they try to defend a territory that they own, they must have 35 members within their company. That's pretty large. That's a large number for a lot of companies. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of merges coming up in anticipation for this update. Next up, the remaining slots are reserved for the company members. Yeah, that's what we just talked about, saying, hey, you need to have at least 10 company members when you attack and 35 when you defend. Next up as well, company switching cooldowns. When leaving a company, players will start a 72-hour cooldown on fighting in a defensive war and earning influence for any company toward war declaration eligibility. The cooldown begins once a player leaves. Any influence earned will still count towards the player's faction. Interesting, nice to see that there's a cooldown so people can't jump around to try to find a loophole for this update here regarding mercenary and required company members in wars. Also, we have leaderboards coming. This seems really cool and interesting. there's now going to be leaderboards regarding a few different topics, including mutated expeditions, faction wars, PvE content, PvP content, and trade skills. And it sounds like that if you finish in the top 10 of any of these leaderboards at the end of weekly, monthly, or quarterly rotations, you get exclusive skins, achievements, and titles. I love this change. It's probably going to be super competitive. It's going to be interesting too to see if these leaderboards are server specific or kind of cross server, because I wouldn't be surprised if it's server specific, if a few people just go to dead servers, grind it out, get the achievements, and then go back home. But hey, we'll see how cool these achievements and rewards really are, and if it's even worth really grinding out for. Also, we have a big call out here. I'm just jumping around to the big stuff regarding loadouts. Upon character creation on the PTR, players will be given multiple caches of special armor and weapons. Each cache has a designation based upon a general build and a main attribute. To help manage the sudden onset of new items, do not open all provided caches at once or you'll be risking being encumbered. Yada yada, any desired caches can be dropped or deposited into your personal settlement storage. I'm not sure what that really has to do with loadouts. I saw the word loadouts and I got really excited, but I guess they're just calling out loadouts in regards to specific builds that you'll have in the PTR. Next up, we've got an FAQ, but I'm not going to be digging into this stuff. I'll drop the link to this article in the description of the video. But again, huge news coming to New World. Overall, great changes, and I'm excited to see these actually hit the live game.